Recording in progress.
You're Satini at Johan. Yagi, a data way you took with tongue, ya, how you a tongue. A dusak a dane a shaguk, a de at the shech, ya sing it. Ya cleared gate so, ya a choni, ach, yach e wutien, ach hunt, yach yeti. Pu oe poa, ego gingach ish yach, yupik sati. Hast du a tangi juchten, you do a saga. Kai outlet to juchten. Wrangle Institute, you do a saga. Vishgun. Tetlishk at aya. Achu heshwa sawati. A de aya atunach. Has yaw adia. Achu quatach kunach lidzi. Has to jig. Yeah, legislature, you do a saga. Telchosaku a sagach to sa. Ye awacho ach klech de hin government. Has to wakshi aya you has waki Charles ka honey. Has to shkatni ki tach zi aya wa ach. Ye ke at kwa wutusaku. Konachweach tuasaku. Kedain aya tu hiji. Ya hayu chetangi dat. Yat etsu kwatu yayagi. Kwati wakshi hak you do a saga at you wakshi eke kwasaneyata. Kakawa hak yadu. Hak. Yeah, we haku as the kanuku. Yet it's a yuchscout the hak. What cookie too. Like hak enach das away. Yis at the way. Klechasaku and yata. Chaklagoyach to us a good koa. Su stichal tu singit. Awa yayagi, wuchin yuchagach to la at. A that way was at gakwane. Yahagi jini eating. A iti asande hak gach to sa. Ach to us a good koa. We duk tu a dat yejini. Awa yejini, we duk tu a dat. Yuakshi eka kasane. Héen awe, ye do a sak awe do uchun tak ani. Ya do a glekak inach ade awe hasa kaushihi ye. Ya keuchne ka hwainak. Ya de ko a. Chawasa etuasa Google. Das. Yeah, that used to. Gwasgahegi, Jaygu Dati Jagachtini, Dati Gurtila, Ade Yejagahini, Yewa, Hayejini Shu, Yejini, Gwas, you got to sa midterms. Yet Keshkadanach to Ashkuka, a data way, ye tutu hihi, a joy, just Jaygu Genki Dati Jinini. Yewer to a tea. Kun sako de handed ka nasjen ka wuchit ruchatan. Just Linux is saknenya yeti a day a tunach yejek gine. Gulchi shuhan ka khatko we talk et wulsa gaaw. Telka kwalsa yad kwaltasa. Ya da jekune. Ya kahwa we khashayehi. Cook kach cook we cook. Achtu asagu yanach idi agat su yejek kone just the cut at the da. Het was up with it. Kadech what nask tlech atu yeti. Yadich ha. Yadich shesh ichak. Yatetsu. Ich, like, unatika, uchke utika, waita, gwas achtuasagu, atude kakkwashahidi. Gwas kakwa ak, ganilchisha khedi sa akhi, yitu, tuagasagu, yikhiyatani, tlingit khinach, ya yitat, gook. Have we got anything to say? Any questions?
That's the verb book, right? The
Conjugator.
conjugator book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I made it too small. And when I tried to print it, it didn't work. So I was like, oh, I'll make it bigger. But then I got to go through like 300 pages and adjust everything, which is fine. But then I got to add, I want to add command, prohibitive, and maybe there's this other one that I think is useful, but I don't hear it that often. And it's so it doesn't happen. It's just the opposite of what's called the purposive. And I don't even know what it's called. And I think I might even go in and just change some of those silly names. And it's like, so it doesn't happen mode, and the so it does happen mode, and the can't happen mode. I think it's time to just switch it over, but we'll see. But I want to have them all in there. And so that one, like ha is a command form, is the prohibitive form, but it also gets a little confusing because sometimes you have things like what does that say? Anybody know?
Not shish. Something.
Oh.
I'll go back.
It's a prohibitive. Don't do it. Strongly worded.
Don't drive it there.
Yeah, don't drive it. And so we were doing this for like red light, green light. We're doing a bunch of translation work, and that's what I was like. She goes, "You're not going anywhere," and then she started laughing. But I want to talk with some folks and figure out, like, when you do a prohibitive, you have two options, and I don't understand which one you pick. You pick either and maybe it just comes down to whether or not there's an imperfective. I don't know. I'll see. I'm sure someone knows. I'm sure Jeff.
So would you use that like when you're saying, like when it's a snowstorm and it says don't drive?
Yeah, that would work. And so you could say, so here's tlish ichak. I don't know what the tone is. I can't remember. So I gotta get down to some of the rules for this. But you can either use an imperfective, first person, and then put tlish in front of it, an irialis in there, and then the underlined K at the end. That's these two things are the prohibitive, the tlish and the underlined K. But for some of them, you're going to use the repetitive imperfective second person. So for example, this would be you, I think, which is you regularly drive. And then looks like there's a question. So I want to have command and prohibitive in there, but I have to do them a little differently. Because there's something, if you look at this thing, okay, and this is like the general structure of the conjugator, is you look up and as long as you match the conjugation type and the classifier right here, this tells you what the stem is going to be. And then you go down here and you can put the prefix together. Theoretically, you should be able to look at any verb theme and put it into any of these modes with this thing. It's a lot of flipping around. It's going to be hundreds of pages. But I guess I should maybe call it the book of conjugation. I don't know. But, so for this, so like a 0 that's closed. Do we know what one? What you could say, that's plus D. Okay, so you could say, I came back. Right, it's going to match everything here, right? But if we did commands and prohibitives, so this says 1, 1p, 2, 2p, 3, 3-3, and 4h. Why? Why does it say these little numbers and stuff?
The pronouns.
Yes, the subject. So first person plural. So this is I, we, you, y'all. What's the difference between these two?
If it's got both a subject and an object.
Yeah, so a third person subject
Subject.
and a third person subject with a third person object. And then the fourth person. Okay, so this shows you all these different subject combinations. And this is all of them. That's all of them. But what would be different about this chart if you were talking about a command or a prohibitive?
Well, you'd only have that second person, singular and plural.
Yes. So you would only have these two. So you wouldn't need a whole table. So what I'll probably end up doing is just sort of having, it'll look similar, but it'll be just like probably running through multiple classifier combinations on one particular card, which is, I don't want to have just like two things on like one whole page, right? And so it is going to be a little different, both. And so one of the reasons, if you look at the reference guide, which I tried a few years ago, which it just might be what it is. I don't know if I'm going to edit that thing. I might, I don't know. But that was, the idea with that was to fully conjugate the most common verbs. And we're only dealing with for subject here. So this doesn't deal with objects, right? So if we switch to a different classifier, like for here, Hosaku, Tisaku, Yisaku, Yisaku, Ausaku, Wuditsaku. Like, so that works, right? But you would say Irsiku, right? So that is different. But I just don't think we can do every single, that's going to get into the millions of entries and you can't do it. So I think you can say, here it is, but if you start adding objects, it's going to get a little different. But I think the question in the chat was asking, why would there be commands and hortatives? Because you can command only a second person and a second person plural. It can only be to you or to y'all. And you can do hortatives for you and y'all. So I don't know. I was just trying to think of like, if you want to say, let's go, that's a hortative, right? But it is kind of a command. Anyway. Okay, so
I have a simple question.
okay.
Just because I couldn't find the answer. How do you say do? Like when you in one of the sentences we were talking about do, and we have a whole bunch of other questions, but I just really couldn't figure out how you say do.
Like, what's the context though?
Oh, the sentence is, do you hear me making noise or something like that?
Oh, right. Yes, and so we did this the other day. Okay. So how would I say, like if you were trying to take a nap, and I was just rustling around, and you could hear me rustling around, and like, and to say, how would you say, I heard you? And I was, okay, when I think of this, when I think of this verb, I did a whole bunch of these verbs with George. And I said, I was trying to change, like, I'll show you where it's at. We need a visual for this one.
You mean like I like at wa ach?
Where is? Oh, I'm having some browsing issues here. Hold on. Okay. So I think this is under. I think it's in here. I'm looking for object and subject combinations. So when I started putting this chapter together, I was thinking about trying to do a whole bunch of these verbs. So we go through these lists of pronouns, and then we do that. Like if you go to like what is now in beginning Tlingit in the workbook, like these are in there now. And there's a whole like conjugation slideshow where we do these one at a time, right? Like this should be kind of or right? So we just go through all of these. So there was a point where we got to just a whole list where we're changing the subjects. And I think, and then we went through one where we're eventually changing both the object and the subject. I think it builds up changing the object, changing the subject. And then I think when we get to the love verb, we end up doing both. I'm trying to find, so here we go. So this goes into like, I love, I gotta update this. I love them, I love them all, I love you all, I love people, I love something. And it switches to we, right? So it has this whole sort of logical shift as it goes through. And he and I we're just sitting down. I said, I would say it in English and he would say it in Tlingit. And there's some really fun sort of inside scoops to this. One is when I switched to this one and I said, I don't love you. And then his wife was in the next room. She goes, Ishan. And then when we got through all of these things, I don't love you, I don't love something, I don't love anything. Well, he gave me this one, and that's when I made the little Oscar the Grouch meme a decade ago or whatever. So then I think the next verb after this is this one. And when I said, I heard them, he gave me a verb that I really was not expecting. And I was very confused. Because I had an idea of how to do all of these things, but I myself, like, if you ran me through those drills like 10 years ago, I heard you, I heard them, I could have done it, but I think it would have taken me a long time. So the verb that he gave me was, here it's under drive. So it was like, I heard them. And then when he said it, I thought, this is what he said. So he said, I think it was this one. So it would have been, kach sahat. And so this is to herd a group of animals. Like I had some sheep that I was pushing into a barn or something. And so it was kind of fun. But when we get to this sentence that we're talking about, this is some kind of fine-tooth stuff. Like, so I heard you, I heard your voice, I can hear you, I took the time to listen, I am listening to you, and I understand. So these are all different things, right? But these are all going to be using the same verb root. So what might I say for I heard you? And this we had to put in because to be making noise. Like, and then this would be I heard your voice. I heard you singing or talking. Any predictions on this? Maybe I'll make it a little table.
Well,
ʼaduwóosʼ.
yeah, that's what I had.
So sa hua.
Oh, ʼaduwóosʼ.
Isacha'a.
That's I heard you talking or singing.
That's your voice. Okay, so
Oops, and
So-
ʼaduwóosʼ.
Ichwa'ach. I heard you.
Mhm.
I can hear you.
I wish it was the same as like in hear and seeing.
Oh,
Maybe
right.
the L classifier.
Let's let's consult the data. Okay. Oh, while I'm looking this up, here's another one. Translate this while I'm scrolling. Wushtakatan itihi. Wushtakatan itihi. Oh, wushtakatan. Wushtakatan itihi. If you're dealing with little kids, you need to know how to say that. Wushtakatan itihi. There's a big hint.
Something like tie your shoes.
Maybe itil kaduk. Or itili kaduk. Keep thinking about it while I'm closing all these verbs.
Yeah.
Wushtakatan itili.
Your voice.
Okay, now we gotta step out. So we gotta find a different dictionary. We gotta look at, let's see if we find the cuttin. We know what whoosh and teeth is, and itili. So the decuttin is the missing element here. So here's the D's. Might be getting close.
The couldn't.
Who's the cuttin?
Couldn't. Oh, go the other way? Or
What am I saying if I say whoosh the cuttin itili?
Your shoes are on the wrong way.
The shoes are on the wrong feet. But this could also be like two people who are just they're turned away from each other. Okay. So back to the other thing. Okay. So there's a whole bunch of ach verbs, right? So we've got listening for someone. Right? So this is different, just like these fine-tuned sort of meanings. So like if I'm trying to listen for somebody, right? Like is my dog home or what? I don't know. I don't know why you would listen for someone, but you might. This is to hear it. So we just did that one. So this is a na. This is a 0. To hear a voice, we just did that one. To listen to, okay, so that's different. Right, so if you would, going back to our little thing here, we could also say, I'm listening to you. I listened to it. Right, so whatever the thing is. I guess I could say, well, I'll just say at. Okay, so it would be I listened to it. What do you think it would be if I said I listened to you?
Ihwasi ach. Ihwasi ach.
Okay, well, okay, yes. But what if, okay, I was
I
listening
am listened to you.
I was listening to you talking. Let me put that.
Mm.
Would it be isach kwasa'ach?
Isahwa seach.
So when we looked at that verb theme for a hot second, it was N-T, right? So this is ut. So I could say, if I was listening, I could say ut shekukt choseach. I listened to the radio. So what would I listen? What would I put my listening to if you were talking?
Ah,
Eat.
Not an eat.
Oh, darn.
That is very close.
Do?
Well, we already have it in there, and then we have a. I will accept the letter T. I heard the letter T.
Is there a directional?
Well, that's the T. That's a directional suffix. Where would my listening go if you were talking?
Like how you can do
Like if you were talking, what am I going to? Where would my listening?
Oh, igu.
Mouth.
Oot. Igu. Hooked.
ach,
Hooked.
8.
Oh.
hey,
We just listened to everything. Okay. All right. Okay. So there we go. So coming back and like.
listening to your mouth.
So now we just listen. There's an L classifier for playing a musical instrument. Pretty cool. Oh, here's the understanding one. So this is also a 0. So if we put on it, stays a 0 classifier. Now we've got understanding, which was also on our list of things. I understand.
We need I listen to you for a command. That was on the verb.
Listen to me.
When you were just showing the database, there was another one. Is that on this list?
Ihahwa ach.
That last one, listen to obey.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're good.
Ihahwa ach.
Well, so okay, we did this one. And so this one does have, okay, so this one has 2 meanings. And this could mean, is that how you spell obeyed? Obeyed?
I think so.
obey it.
It's not like
And you're a professor of what?
Like,
sing it.
Again, plenty of
I could write poems. That doesn't mean I can spell. I was with a group of English majors. I was like, we'll just verb it then. They're like, wait, verb is a verb? I was like, we have English degrees. We can make it whatever we want. Okay. I obeyed you. Okay. So, where did we look? Okay, I heard you. I heard your voice. Oh, I can hear you. Let's go back to our list. So back to our list. Yes.
Ihwa
to be able to hear. So now I can hear it. So like all of this stuff, like coming back to these sentences, which we'll look at today. I can hear you. Yeah, and so this is like phones and having cell phone that cuts out, or having these microphone things cut out on us or something. These are important, like there's a lot of fine tuning of Lingi. This is all one verb group, a whole bunch of different meanings, which gets us to I think we've got almost all of them. Because then you'd say, I can't hear you. Did obey. So now we got the last one. So this would be So looking at these things when they're perfective, some of them are na, some of them are ga, a lot of them are zero. If they're zero, they will be short and high in the perfective. If they're na or ga, they'll be long and low in the perfective. So here you'd say So coming back to our lists, it was the last one. Yeah. Oops. I took the time to listen to you. So that's if you're at like some sort of ceremonial event, you might say, put your listening, take time to listen to this over at this direction. That's basically what you're saying. And what did we have? And then don't forget this one. All right, let's try this one. Is that herded? Heard? You say heard?
For what? For
That-
cats?
No, past tense is herded.
Herded? I'm done with this English language. What's the rule?
My dog used to herd the cats. Or a lot of cat herding.
Douche.
Wrangling.
Okay,
I don't know.
I drove them somewhere. Well, it'd be like to push.
I
Okay.
would say wrangled.
Who else has a question?
But going back, sorry, but I still didn't learn how to say do.
Oh,
Do.
did you? So, okay, so what English tends to do, right, is like, did you verb. So this relies on, I think, a linking verb. Like English uses lots of linking verbs. So is, was, and then you have like the question form would be did. So you need to have these words external to the verb. Did you read? Did you eat? Right? And so the did part, and so you have related things like do you like to eat? And when you get there, you better do it, right? And so do and is and was, like they have such incredible function in English. And there is no is in thinking, right? There's no truly, like in terms of what is does in English. But, so what you would end up with is you would have verb conjugated in second person perfective, followed by yeah. That's how you'd say did you. Did you do the verb? Atkichaga, did you eat? Can you hear it? Well, I guess it's a little different. So it turns it just straight into a yes or no question, but you don't need some other word to link to it. Ge does all of that work for you. So in this case, I could turn all of these, well, okay. Now we gotta do a little bit more work. Okay. So if we had all of those, and we know that get does work. So what if I said, did you hear me? What do I need to do? Well, okay, that's not asking the same question. What is that asking? It'd be kind of a
Do I
strange.
hear you?
Did I hear you?
Did I hear you? That's because then if you ask about it, I'm not you. I don't know.
Yeah, oe.
So there's two more things to do.
Gaat je achtje?
Well, chat iya ach. We'll get to the other one because that was something a little bit. Did you hear my? This is good. This is like, now we've been studying how to drive. Now you get to go drive the car. Did you hear my voice? There's 3 things we need to do.
We gotta add the ge.
Done. We got 2 more things to do.
Ak at the front.
Chat, we'll take chat. We got one more thing to do.
Change signs.
Hi. Oh.
Oh,
There's gonna be some
You are the subject. You have to make you being the subject.
right here. I
Saya.
have to change. Anybody know?
say,
I need 3 letters.
Yee. No, that's not right.
Yes, but maybe in a different order. The committee will accept those 3 letters, yes.
EEY.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay.
Good.
That is how it goes. Yes. Did you hear my voice? Okay. What's going to happen now? I bet you can guess. This one has already been said
Well,
by the guy in the cell phone commercial, but also just a minute ago.
Yeah. Gaat je achke.
Gaat je achtje?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ooh. Did you take the time to listen to me? Okay, this one's gonna get a little wild. Just so you're prepared.
Just gonna gaaw is gonna be in there somewhere.
You say gaaw?
Yeah, for time.
It's built into this verb. So like this verb, when you say like like if you say it like that, people say that at ceremonies, like chu'ik and stuff. Or you might say you all take the time to listen to them. So it means to take time to listen. And so I like to sort of translate it that way because it means to sort of like put your focus on there, right? Because there's different things between listening and hearing and, focusing on things are different things. This is how Lingi takes care of them.
We definitely need a ge.
Okay.
Yep.
That's the
And
easy.
maybe you start with the hot.
You started with a hut here, but this is an indirect object because this is ede. So if this is written as its own word, that should tell you it is a relational pronoun.
Ak.
Ugh, now we got some funky business to do here. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's too funky. Pizza.
Pizza.
Some of these get really. You could say, well, I think it would be this, which is you can say kuidzi.
How do
I
you
know that
yeah.
because you say.
So it's either or, you can use either.
No, it should be. Yeah, I had it wrong first.
Oh.
It's kui. No.
This is an important one. Tuiduuske. Well, I'll scroll back up. I promise we'll go back up. Did you pout? I'm not asking you that or suggesting anything. I'm just saying I remembered conjugating that and figuring out how to, I think I asked George how to say that one. Because I was like, what do you do with the and the I? And it gets ooey. Ooey boy. Okay. Did you hear my voice? Can you hear me? Did you take time to listen to me? Did you?
You kind of sound like you're a whining partner.
I know these got very bossy quickly, right?
Or a parent. Didn't you listen to me?
Okay, we have 3 things to do.
At the gate.
Ugh. Kaka.
Couch. That's funny.
What's that?
K-E-E?
Just ye. You see.
Ye?
Well, maybe change that vowel.
You?
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Is a achke.
Yes, okay.
Did you listen to me? Ooh. Okay, that's probably enough. Now we know. I mean, doing stuff like this, it's a very rough kind of manufacturing process, but it shows us like there are those parts in there, right? So changing the subject, changing the object, and doing them, I think if you do them this way, you start to sort of figure it out, and your brain will put together like what happens when I change them like this.
When you get to the did you understand me, or
do we do that?
Do you have another verb for understand?
Do we skip that one? Okay, first I say, I understand you. Let's go. We'll get a little help. We'll get a little help from this database. Here's understanding. Ach wa ach. That tells us everything we need to know. Coming back. We just saw it. How might I say? Okay, let me change to English to help us out.
Did you understand me?
We're not there yet.
We're not there. Okay,
We
sorry.
are at I understood you. Start starting.
Yes, I didn't understand you.
We skipped this verb. It was my fault.
Would it be aqua?
We're not. We're at I.
Not gay. Not gay.
You. We'll get there. We'll go take another look. So coming back up, this is where the object goes. That whatever you're understanding, then you have ka, then you have a subject, then a classifier, then a verb. So if the perfective is achwa ach, which I can, it's there, so I could say there's my loss, there's my loss, there's my loss. We gotta change one because there's something already there that we need to change. Bing, 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 bing.
Strange.
I understood you.
I understood you.
Mm.
And so this comes down to like you said it, I understood it. There is this other one like which is to comprehend something.
So, as I understood it.
If you just
I have it from something else.
we don't need you'd say the object is 0 unless it's a third person. So you would say they understood it.
Okay.
Or them. It's usually going to be them. Because unless it's like a Tlingit talking Teddy Ruxpin, which would be amazing. Okay.
These things were scary.
A friend of mine, his brother took it apart and made it into a phone that was a cow. So you'd be talking to someone and this cow would talk to you. Whoever you talk to on the phone. Okay. Did you understand me? I sure gotta think about 2 different languages.
Okay, so did you understand?
Did you understand? We gotta do 3 things.
Yeah.
Get and change it to off.
Close. But it is an object pronoun, not a relation.
Cut.
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 This is
Yeah.
like this is in like going all the way back to the phrase book, right? Like this is something that's in there. But now we can see like what are all those parts that are in there. Okay. I guess we need this. We're ready for it.
Ha.
For me, right?
Okay. Oh, well, we could. Okay. Hold on. You
Understood.
Okay.
I'll take a hot there.
Right.
Which one are we working?
I want us to say, we understood you.
Yeah. Itulake? Ah,
Okay. The committee accepts 2 of those syllables.
Okay.
The off.
We don't need the get. Like, we don't have to say, did we understand you? That, we don't have, well, I guess we could ask ourselves that. It's kind of socially awkward, but maybe, there could be a, okay, we need one thing right there.
Us.
okay.
This thing right there.
Yeah.
We understood you.
Oh, because that's part of the verb root, right? That gets smushed.
Well, this is part of the, this is all the prefix right here. So the parts that are in there is I. So ka is thematic. T is we. Ya is the classifier. And then ach is the root.
Okay.
And what we're doing is we're changing them without seeing them stretched out onto a little thing of tables. That's very good. That's good stuff. It's not easy. Okay. So, y'all have what, like 60 sentences? Whoops. We did all the first, we did the first 10, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have, do we do these ones?
I'm blurring the classes together. I can't remember if we reviewed.
How
They've been
did,
assigned.
The eagle flew back to its nest.
What's that?
I thought we did the eagle flew back to its nest already.
We've done 20. Did we do 20 in here? Okay, how do you folks want to approach this? You want me to just give this to you over the break and you've got like 60 sentences to just jam out and we'll do them next, whenever we return? Chuck what quince. Okay. So, let's chat for a little bit. So, like thinking of how Tlingit works, right? So that there's stuff like this, so we can go all the way down to like a hortative, right? So if you want to know how to make a hortative form of a verb, this shows you most everything that you need. So for example, I know a zero conjugation, zero classifier verb, like cha, to eat it. So you could say cha, let me eat it. Atucha, I think that's long enough. We're going to eat it. Qicha, let you eat it. Qaicha. Like some of these, the context is a little funky. Qatucha, let it be eaten. But there could be instances where you're wanting to use a hortative. A hortative is more challenging than some of the other modes to put together, because some cases you have na and qa. For example, coming to the na conjugation, like we should recognize like nachtu'at, let's go. Nakata, let me go to sleep. But you can use some of these as like in that purposive form, this verb happens so the other one can. So I could say, I came here so I could go to sleep. Right? And so like some of these, it's a bit of a stretch to want to do that. But in terms of putting together futures, these futures, this is very useful and very common. Right? So I know a S conjugation and right here. So I could say, siu dak guchsatan. I know that's going to be long and high. There's guchsa right there. The way you read this preverb, so I did try to smash these ones together because it's kind of one switch. For the future, if you have a na or a zero conjugation verb, you never need anything in the preverb. If it's ga, you have to have k. If it's qa, you have to have ye. So for example, you could say gahtusaku. That's right there. It's built there for you. You don't have to look it up. And you could go to a plus D version to say wush gahtusku. We're going to know each other. Kakwasatin. I'm going to see it. Kaqisatin. Well, this would have to have. Okay, so kakwasatin is not complete. Does anybody know why? Well, how do you say, like if he's, a lot of us know this from like, I'll see you later or I'll see you again. Right? So there again.
Yay in front?
Yay.
Yes, it's a conjugation. So I need to say yay, and then that gets me over to here. So the prefix for this one is sa. But if you put yay in front of it, that forces it to contract to yekakasatin. They run together. Yekakasatin, you're going to see it. Yekachisatin, you all are going to see it. So that's how the future is put together. It's not separated by, because I thought I could smush them all on one, right? Because some of them, like if you get into some of them, they do conjugate different, but here the stem is the same. So if the stem is the same, I'm going to just try and smush them all on one card. Teen, to watch something. It's a zero conjugation because I know that you'd say auchetin, they watched it. Gachtuchlatin, we're going to watch it. Gachitlatin, y'all are going to watch it. So this does a lot of that work for you with the idea that, for example, if I look up a verb root, and I will do it here, or I look up a theme. So here's my theme, chun. Object, subject, L classifier, chun, 0. To injure someone, okay? So if I wanted to come back into here and say, okay, that's an L classifier and that's a 0. So maybe what I want to go look at is the perfective of that. L classifier 0. So for here, this is separated by conjugation class. So here's a 0. It's going to go 0, D plus 0, S, D plus S, L. Here we are. So now we look over here, and that was closed, so it should be chun, to hurt somebody, right? Hwashe chun, wutushe chun, yishe chun, yishe chun, aushe chun. It's got to jump down there because it has an object. Wudutle chun. But now you could put this. You could take that theme and look it up right here. It's a bit of like connecting the dots, but I do think using this thing, if you use it enough times, I do think it's going to help you fill in those blanks. And we don't have to worry about what this thing is called, but we do have to worry that they do appear in this order. Achite.
Nashish.
Great.
Kashuk.
Way.
Kashuk. Kawagi. Wagi.
Book.
I found that I liked the idea of choosing a few verbs so that I would have an example of what is a classifier and a conjugation type, so that I could use the conjugator book. So my idea is that these are the verbs I'm going to practice with, because that's just my idea of how to make it work.
Okay. That's a great idea. And so one of the things that we could do in the future is we have the conjugator, and maybe there's a dictionary that's just themes. It's just themes and definitions. So then you could have 1,000 verbs in like 40 pages.
What about if your next dictionary was split into 2 of just themes?
Oh,
And then,
I could do a section that was just themes. I could do that. Just exporting from the existing dictionary.
beautifully bound, like the high density volume.
Well, if I did a book of themes, I would have nothing else in there. It would just be themes.
Volume 1 and volume 2. A single dictionary. One's just themes, one's not.
All the non-verbs? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so then maybe there's a future where those, because I was looking at a project that is being done in Gwich'in, and they are putting the verbs out in like every mode and every subject combination, is my understanding. And I thought, wow, that's incredible. But also, shouldn't you make them do it themselves? Which is, this is making the learner do it, but it's also saying, but here's the tools. Like these 2 tools, I think you could conjugate every single verb. There might be some cases where the stem comes out wrong, because some of them, the stem could be like, it's got 2 options. I haven't figured that one out yet. But yeah, let's run through.
You could just put an asterisk on the ones that maybe, like you might want to check out or have something different.
Yes, and so they are marked here. So this says, in a hortative and a potential, this one is short. So they, like, Aki Show did mark that for us in here.
Mm-hmm.
So here's another one. Well, I guess the next phase, like, so over spring break, I'm going to try and do it and not go crazy. I'm going to add a generic thematic prefix, and it's going to get twice as long as it is right now. Because then you can take a look at this and you say, this is a 0. And so you can come in here, it's a 0, and it's a 0 classifier. So if you come back up to here, but it's not chuk, but it's chuk, 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 and chuk. And so, but I know how to do those, but I think it's going to be helpful to list those. Because if you had that, so that was kahwa, kautua, kia, kayi, akawa, kaudua. But if I change that verb to yachwadlaq, which technically I'd have to go down to the na, because, we're going to go there in a second. But just think about the prefix for now. So we have kahwa, kach. All right, let me just go down to you. Let me go down to the na. I got to have the same. I got to have matching conjugation. Okay, prefix.
Right.
So I'm here, right? So this is na, ga, or ga. So I got 2 verbs, kachwa'aq and yachwadlaq. Okay? Kachwa'aq, kautuwa'aq, kayi'aq, or kiya'aq, sorry, kiya'aq, kayi'aq, akawa'aq, kauduwa'aq. Kachwa'aq, yachwadlaq, kautuwa'aq, yautuwadlaq. Kiya'aq, yiyadlaq, kayi'aq, yayidlaq, akawa'aq, ayawadlaq, kauduwa'aq, yauduwadlaq. So what happened there is that single, in all of those examples, the K switched to a Y. That was the single thing that changed. So once you learn how to do that, you could do anything now.
How come you kept skipping the third person singulars that go to ku?
Well, for this, because all of those had object pronouns. And so I had to jump down to this one. So that is the big difference on here, is it shows you third person is going to be one or the other. But for example, this would be, they summoned me, right? So I would say, or you'd say, they summoned them, awahuch. They summoned me, chat wuchuch. So this would also work if you had a different object on there. So that is a little bit of a trick that I'm gonna have to make a video on how to use this thing. But then I'll just get in my boat and just go that way forever. Chris, what's up? Oh.
So I was wondering about the second singular and the third singular in the perfective. I've seen sometimes it's ye and sometimes it's iya. I was wondering when they switch or when you see one or the other.
Yes, very straightforward. So here's na, ka, and qa. That will be ye every single time. And if we go up to a 0 conjugation, but it has to be 0 conjugation, 0 classifier, that will be iya every time. And then that's also where you get uwa, but only if there's no object. Hat iyagut, hat uwagut, hat chwagut, right? All of those work. And then if we go down to a na, would be we de chwagut, we de yi gut, we de wu gut. It's all about the conjugation for that one. It's a good question. Other thoughts or questions?
How do you think that it's I get you can study this and do it, you know what I mean? When you're writing and you're thinking about developing sentences. But how do you make it happen so quickly in your brain?
Yeah, okay, that's like the idea is, so like when we get into, for me, the hope is like you can see these things here and you can look them up and say, okay, it's these three things. Like when you have yo and I and ya, for these you get yi. And the hope is that you're using this enough and you're using the language enough that you're looking it up and looking it up and looking it up. And then at some point your brain is like, man, I'm tired of looking it up. Let's just go for it, right? And then we just sort of, but it's designed to sort of like, it's like we're all in a play. And some of us still need to hold on to the script and read from the script. But we want to get off book. Like if you can get off book to just go like off the cuff and just start talking, right? To say, I saw a swan over there. I wonder where the other one is, right? Just to say that in Tlingit, right? Right? And so, and there's a bunch of different examples. So I think we're in the manufacturing stage right now. A lot of us are, and that's okay. Like, I think you have to give yourself lots of patience and lots of time to get there, because what you are doing is you're sort of memorizing what these prefixes are while learning how these little particles interact and also wanting to just communicate a whole bunch of stuff, right? So I think you can get there, but then I think the missing element still comes down to realms of language use, because we're together for 3 hours a week. That's great, but like, where is this other chunk going to come from? So the university owns a house over here. We might be able to convert that to a language house, but maybe the powers that be could figure out how to get us a space. We've got Zoom links, we've got other things, but then there's a language gathering. We need more language gatherings. I don't know how to do that. We need someone who's really good at being friends with everybody and just getting groups together for language use. But we could do it for sewing. We could do it for, I think, okay, this is going to sound bad. There are more people who get together for cultural events for Halloween and Christmas than there are who ever gather around our language. And so we have to create a shift. And how do we create that shift? Well, what if there's free food? And all you have to do is sit at a table and practice the language, or just listen to it being practiced, right? And so to find ways to not beat our people up and to beat ourselves up for not doing it, but to find ways to really incentivize that. Give away an iPad, give away a TV, make it so that the people are like, wow, that's the coolest place to be. But it can't be like, have you seen this Glasgow Willy Wonka experience? Because if you haven't heard of that, go look it up. Like they advertise it as like this amazing park, and you go in, it's just like this weird little warehouse with like very poorly designed stuff. But if we made it like the thing, I think that helps. But then there has to be a commitment to use. And maybe like is there a restaurant in town that would host us? Say, we'll pay for our dinners, but we want to have a Tlingit eating night. So we could just all just yell across the restaurant and Tlingit at somebody. That's so fun.
I have a suggestion, but
Okay.
it can't be recorded.
Okay, we'll
But
pause.
also,
Go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say, but there's a lot of activities that are going on now, and I know like it's great to have Neshke Kuge with us, like in our dance group. We're using more and more language all the time there, in just common conversation. And I think we have to also be deliberate about the places we convene already and making language a part of it. Auntie's house, they go there and sew every Saturday, 9 to 2 o'clock. I think maybe we just need to do that too.
Yeah, right. So we can have an added component to things that are already happening, and just say, but it's interesting because like we did ice skating, like, and it was hosted by Global Heritage Foundation. It was very successful. But they wanted me to do like Tlingit commands while people were ice skating. And the first time it was terrible. Like nobody listened to me, right? Which is fine. They're ice skating, right? But then the second time we had someone who was like, "Everybody stop!" And, you know, and then they did great. And so you also have to, I would say, yes, add it to the things that we're doing, but don't expect people to stop everything they're doing. But make it a thing that's also there, but is not interrupting the processes that are already there. So.
I think it's helpful to be a little bit aggressive with the language, i.e., just go out and use a little bit in front of people who don't have a clue and haven't heard it. Just explain it after the fact. And I find it's helpful for me to be able to think both ways. I have a coworker who's Argentine, and I took Spanish for years in high school and college. And so when I'm at work, I try to speak to her in Spanish, which it's been so long it really doesn't work very well, but I try, and it's fun. And she forgives me all the time. And I think we just have to do the same thing with Tlingit. We just have to say thank you, going to cheesh to the clerk in the grocery store, and when they say have a good day, say wa'etsu. And just use it in small ways where it's easy to explain what you said. If they don't understand, it's not the end of the universe. And people don't feel imposed on or isolated or intimidated because you're saying a whole bunch of something that they can't understand, and they're either being expected to understand it or to not understand it. I think you just have to keep nudging people, and eventually it'll catch.
Yeah, like what if you shopped in Tlingit at one of these big stores we have here in Juneau or wherever you're living, right? And like everybody was encouraged to shop on like Sunday at 5 p.m. or what. And it's like, if you can make it, great. If you can't, it's not like the thing's going to stop. And then everybody gets a coupon for like $10 off your groceries. Like what? And we try to like stay in a little cluster and talk to each other. And if people want to know what we're saying, we'll tell them and we'll invite them. And so, because we're always like one step away from shame and bad feelings. But I think that shouldn't scare us away from doing the thing. I think more opportunities to use and speak the language is definitely needed. Because I think that's what's going to get us off of, like, there's all these resources and stuff. But as they said, like, if we don't, there's this line from not Kayaaní George Davis, but Kitchnach George Davis, where he said, but if we don't, they're just going to walk around and only read the language from the books, which is a bit prophetic. But, you know, we could say, okay, we hear you, Grandpa, and we're rising to the challenge. Oh, yeah, Costco. I'll do Costco any day of the week. At Nasi Dake Hiti, Sunday, at the hot dog house, okay? We have a break. There's no class next week, so like, what I want you folks to work on is duktut, like going through, doing the retranslation of that, get as much done as you can. Translate these 60 sentences. That's a lot of work. But if you can get through as much as you can, we're going to start going through both of those. And then there might not be class as we're having it the week after spring break. But I'll send an email out as we get closer. I'll go see what the shrine has and what they could do. You know, the Catholic Church has done some things to us, so I hope they'll be providing good Wi-Fi in our language. I'll talk to some. I'll call the diocese and just see what's going on. Let's see. Another thought. I think the other thought too is what I'll work on is trying to get a little bit more finished on the conjugator, and then we'll come in with just a whole bunch of verb themes. And I'm going to challenge you to not go like one by one, like I did, you did, we did, but just to sort of say, okay, here's the theme, and the theme is like steal. So how would you say, I stole it, I will steal it, right? We'll pick other. The verb doesn't matter because it's not a declaration of what we're going to do.
So when we come back, the midterm, the sentences, and the conjugator.
Yeah. And so I will, I'll probably post on social media and also on clinkitlanguage.com when the conjugator gets updated. The one area I'm not confident about is the negative habituals that are non-zeros. So I'm going to have those looked at. But I'm excited about potentials because I like potentials. I think they're a very fun verb mode. And so when you go down to potentials, so like it gets wild. But if you wanted to use something like this, you could say, is there no way you can eat it? And so you could form, I think I got to put that in here. It would be ade. So it's this one, and it's like, is there no way you can? This is a very Raven way to ask a question. Donna, is there no way y'all can give me some money? Okay, we'll end it there.
Can we pause? I have an announcement I'd like to share.
Let me stop the recording. Cheers, and have a wonderful break. We have a couple more things to talk about.